World Water Depletion by Abby Dufault. Mexico City buildings are breaking through the Earth's crust. The Rio Grande sometimes doesn't reach the Gulf of Mexico. California produce is dwindling. Floodwater in India is polluting the water supply. All of these tragedies are the result of world water depletion, affecting all of us around the world. Water is a necessary resource for survival of humans and all living things on planet Earth, including plants and animals. Water is also used for industry and agriculture, and to help provide energy resources, which shows how important water is for the United States and other countries around the world. In general, the United Nations reports that the global water supply is decreasing due to climate-related shifts, human use, and pollution. This gradual decrease is ongoing, and everyone contributes to the depletion of water resources, which highlight why global water consumption is a public problem. Water consumption is one of the most important global environmental problems, considering the Earth's population depends on water for survival. According to the United Nations Water Panel, 97.5% of the world's water supply is saltwater in the oceans, which leaves 2.5% fresh water. Of this 2.5%, 70% is ice and snow caught in glaciers, 30% is groundwater, and 0.3% lands in freshwater lakes and rivers. Overall, the United Nations hypothesizes that the total of usable water for humans and organisms is less than 1% of the world total. All over the globe, water use exceeds water replenishment in aquifers. The United Nations predicts that by 2025, 2/3 of the world population could be under stressful conditions, like war or disagreement over water ownership, due to the fact that certain regions are currently piping water in from other regions for their own use. Places like Mexico City are undergoing devastating damage due to aquifer depletion. Because the water supply is decreasing underground, heavy buildings are breaking through the crust, causing a sinking city, as shown through this crooked church. The water supply in the aquifer can no longer hold up the aging infrastructure. Information from the United Nations also shows that about 90% of the freshwater in the world is used for industry and agriculture. Also, a person on average drinks 1 gallon of water a day, but making their food, due to the water needed to grow produce, uses about 925 gallons per day. Water is also needed for irrigation and upkeep of the farms. More people means more farming, which means more water. Since rain is not enough, farmers and industrial companies need to utilize irrigation from aquifers in order to keep their crops alive, which leads to fast aquifer depletion as well. Farmers also use water from lakes and rivers like the Rio Grande to provide irrigation for their crops. Because of agricultural use from these bodies of water, rivers are not flowing as full as they once were, so they are not reaching their destinations or watering areas downstream. This causes dwindling farmland in the southern United States. A large problem tied to aquifer depletion is the effect of climate change on the amount of water we have to use, as also reported by the United Nations. Global warming, consisting of variations in temperature and scarcity of rainfall in some areas, affects aquifer depletion because the groundwater is no longer being replenished by the natural water cycle. Because of the effects of climate change, water is being pumped in through pipes and transported into areas that have less water than before, which spreads the low water supply even thinner. Places like Southern California, the fruit and nut bowl of the United States, are drying up, and water is being pumped in from neighboring states to keep up with agricultural needs. Lastly, industrial pollution leads to a tarnished fresh water supply. The United Nations Water Panel reports that in developing countries, 2 million tons of waste is dumped into the freshwater supply daily, and 70% of all global industrial waste is dumped into the usable water supply as well. The blatant dumping of waste in our water systems is not the only way that water is polluted. Rainwater picks up chemicals and trash on its way into streams and rivers, causing contamination. Floodwater in India poses a health hazard when monsoons and floods ravage villages, ruining the existing water supply due to the pollution carried in the water. Also, the energy industry utilizes fracking to extract natural gas from the earth, a process that the United States Environmental Protection Agency explains as producing fractures in the rock formation that simulate the flow of natural gas or oil, increasing volumes that can be recovered. When energy companies utilize this method, the Natural Resources Defense Council explains that there is high risk of contamination of water in the aquifer due to the natural gas seepage that can happen during fracking. Also, the chemicals in fracking wastewater are not always removed before coming into contact with the natural environment. It is not easy to solve the water depletion problem. Overall, National Geographic hypothesizes that it is not energy efficient to move water to where it is needed, and drying up bodies of water depletes the delicate freshwater ecosystems, including fish populations, which often serve as the livelihood of those who live near lakes and rivers. Through overuse, climate change, and pollution, the global water supply is being depleted faster than the Earth can geologically replace it. Water is on a natural cycle, falling, evaporating, and replenishing, but it cannot be replaced if it is being pumped out faster than the water cycle can replenish it. Also, the large population of Earth causes humans to use the supply of water faster than ever due to industry, agriculture, and general use. 7 billion people means about 7 trillion gallons of water needed for agriculture per day around the world. That's about 12 million Olympic-sized swimming pools. Because water consumption is necessary for human survival, water conservation practices would greatly help preserve the natural resource that is readily available today. Personal conservation, education on climate change, and greater regulations on industrial pollution and hydraulic fracking would greatly help the public problem of world water depletion.